You know the moment. You plan to work out today. You even set out your fully packed gym bag the night before. You told yourself, after work, no excuses. But now you're standing in your kitchen, staring at your shoes, and you're not moving. Or you're opening the fridge, fully stocked with healthy food, while your hand drifts toward the cupboard where the sugary kids' cereal sits. You have good intentions. You know the next step. You even have everything set up. Yet, the follow-through stalls. What's going on here? You are hitting a bottleneck, a predictable structural limitation in the system. And unless you understand that bottleneck, you'll keep losing the same battle in the same place, no matter how much motivation, planning, or intention you bring. This is where a concept from computer science becomes the clearest metaphor for why self-control fails. Amdahl's law. This law explains why people fail to follow through even when they know what to do. Hey there, it's me, Core, and you are listening to Exercising Self-Control from Fitness to Flourishing. Before we dive in, I'd like to preface this 4-part series with some context. If you listen to episode 240, Stop Optimizing, Start Showing Up, you learn the order of operations for personal development. There's a hierarchy that lays out the 3 problems you face in self-directed growth. You must solve for each in turn to be effective. First, inconsistency of action. Second, incompetence of action. And third, inefficiency of action. Everything in your life, fitness, habits, identity, discipline, collapses if you can't solve the first problem, which is you can't get yourself to do what you said you would do. In other words, you lack consistency of follow-through. This series is a deep dive into that foundational problem. If you haven't listened to episode 240 yet, do that first, then come back here. What follows is the architecture, the system-level explanation for why consistency breaks down and how to rebuild it from the ground up. Okay, let's get into it. Amdahl's law explains something simple, but so relevant to personal development. A system is limited by the one part that can't be sped up. You can have dozens of fast, powerful components, but if one part of the process is slow, even a tiny part, the entire system is capped by that single point. That's the bottleneck. And in self-control, the bottleneck is always the same. The moment of choice. You can optimize everything around that moment. Meal prep, gym membership, accountability, routines, reminders, productivity tools, coaching. But the system still collapses if the one moment you can't automate, the moment you must decide to follow through, is fragile. This is why people say things like, I do great until 7 p.m. I'm fine until I get home. I'm good all day, then I blow it. I can plan perfectly, but I can't execute consistently. They're describing a bottleneck, not a failure of intent. Think about the last time you skipped a workout. The workout wasn't the problem. The 30 to 45 minutes of movement wasn't the problem. The sweat, the reps, the effort, none of that was the problem. The problem was the activation energy required to start. That tiny sequential moment, putting on your shoes, stepping outside, walking into the gym, whatever that moment is part of the system that can't be bypassed. You can't outsource it. You can't automate it. You can't prep your way around it. And because that moment is sequential, it becomes the limiting factor. This is why people can spend hours researching the perfect program, but still struggle to train. It's why people can meal prep flawlessly, but still reach for junk food. It's why people can read every book on habit formation and still break their streak. Amdahl's law makes the truth unavoidable. Your system is only as strong as its bottleneck. When people fail at self-control, they usually respond in one of two ways. One, they blame themselves. I'm lazy. I'm inconsistent. I just don't have discipline. This is not helpful. These self-deprecating phrases capture the feeling of failure, but do not describe any means to rectify the lack of follow-through. Stop being lazy is not a solution. It provides no direction for action. Identify and learn to manage the bottleneck, and you can solve the actual problem. Suddenly, lack of discipline is no longer an issue. But here's what most people do instead, which is number 2. They try to add more power, more motivation, more willpower, more intensity, more rules, more pressure. But adding more power to the system doesn't fix the bottleneck. It just makes the failure more pronounced and you feel worse. There I go again. What's wrong with me? And you up the intensity again. This is why people burn out. This is why they yo-yo and feel like they're always starting over. They're trying to overpower a structural limitation instead of redesigning the system. Once you understand the bottleneck, you stop asking, why can't I follow through? Instead, you start asking, what part of the system is limiting me? This is the shift from self-judgment to self-engineering. It's the shift from, I need more discipline, to, I need to solve the right problem. And it's the foundation of everything I teach. This series is about giving you the architecture, not the motivational slogans or trending buzzwords, for building real, reliable self-control. Part 1, this one, why self-control fails, the bottleneck. Part 2, how self-control grows, the capacity curve. Part 3, the self-control complexity scale, a practical 5-level progression system. And Part 4, the binary success method, your measurement protocol, the ACT score. By the end, you will understand how self-control can be trained the same way you train for strength, with logical progression, trackable metrics, and clear standards of behavior. In other words, it's a skill. With training, you become more skilled. Tomorrow is part 2. We'll explore how to use another computer concept, Gustafson's law, as a metaphor to help shift our perspective from avoid failure to build capacity, and how and when to introduce higher levels of challenge. Want to train self-control like a skill, not a personality trait? I built a place for that. If you struggle with consistency, this is for you. Track your follow-through, earn your ACT score by stacking days you don't break. Miss a day, it resets. Start your day 1 with the ACT score challenge. The link is in the show notes. That's it for today. Catch you next time.